I'm FD Signifier, and if I was stuck on a desert island and I can only have 5 pieces of media to take with me, it would be the following. It would be Tool's third or fourth album, Lateralus. It would be the movie The Labyrinth. It would be the video game series Tekken, whatever the newest version that was out. It would be the album Soul Food by Goodie, and it would be the game Dragon Age Inquisition.
Welcome, everybody, to Bill's Desert Island, the show where I take some of your favorite innovators, creators, and entertainers and their 5 pieces of media that they cannot live without and then drop them on a desert island for the rest of their livable life, because I am an evil bastard. So I felt there was no better way to go ahead and christen this ship on its maiden voyage than inviting the Grand Poobah of blackness on the internet,
the king of the blacks,
the emperor of all Negrodom, the only black voice on
the only black version, the only black voice you ever need to hear. Like, it's just me.
Need to hear.
All of my opinions encompass all of niggerdom.
All of it.
All of it. And as soon as you hear me say it, then you don't have to listen to nobody else. Like nobody else. It's just me. It's just me. So
the imperial, the grand imperial wizard of Pan-Africanism, right. FD Signifier himself. Everybody clap it up for FD. Yay.
I died for all your Negroid sins. So I
see, we already cutting up. But I mean, okay, so kind of piggybacking off of that, right? Like it's all just for all of the actuallys in the audience. For y'all that don't know,
because people don't be knowing, it's partly because I think a lot of our viewers are on the spectrum, which we are too. So it's like frustrating that
it is frustrating. A lot of times I feel like that's an excuse to keep it a buck. But true. For the actuallys in the audience, if y'all don't know, Feek might be the best friend that I have not met in real life yet. So this is all love. This is all jokes. This is all,
right.
Whatever. So stay out of here with the actuallys.
Right. Right.
There is no emperor of black people until when Jesse Jackson dies.
We are not working ourselves into a shoot.
We are not CM Punk
and Nicole Cabana. Right.
All right, but kind of piggybacking off of that point, right? So famous, wealthy YouTube FD Signifier, right? I think that a lot of people kind of have this preconceived notion of, because we living in a day and age now where you have kids, they show up to career day and you say, what you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a YouTube. For us growing up, that was like, NBA, that literally NFL, did not exist, right?
President Ashley.
Right. So I say that to ask this question, or actually to see if you can expound on this a little bit, because I think that it's fair to say that you are at least the most prominent black voice on, definitely black male voice, black cishet male voice on that side of the commentary YouTube space. So, what is the gift and the curse? Having that spotlight, but at the same time, you have a platform to preach positivity.
Yeah. So the gifts are numerous. I want to always be clear. The gifts are far outweigh the curses, or I'd leave. Right? I'd be out. I'm not the type of person to hold on to something if I feel like it's not bringing me value. So I get a lot of, especially from critics who don't actually watch me. I get a lot of you make content for white people accusations, but if you look at my content, that's not the case. And what I experience in the real world, that's not the case. What I experience in the real world is a lot of love, especially when I run into a lot of younger black men, which I do regularly, and they some of them low-key get emotional, about the fact that what I've made has impacted them, and that. Ironically, is what made me into a teacher, 20 years ago, right? Is wanting to be a a useful force in the lives of young people, especially young Black men, because I know I didn't have as much of that as I wanted, in like intrinsically. And like, I also have so much love for the mentors I did have, for the Black men that stepped up when my dad wasn't around, that weren't like necessarily like, oh, I'm your new dad, like father figures, but people that were just mentors and old heads and OGs and like thought leaders and people I looked up to, between like uncles and teachers and whatever else. And so like when I got into education during it 20 years ago, like that was part of it, was me wanting to like reproduce that in the world. And now I get to do it at scale, and I get actually paid really well for it. That's the other thing. I'm a creative at heart. So like, I love making these joints. I love making these videos. Even the ones I don't love as much, I just throw them up on B-sides. It's still a joy to like create something and put it out there, or help create something. There's also a lot of collaboration. I want to give a shout out to all my editors, including the two of which that we share. So there's that. But then there's also like, who I envy? I know you're not a fan of, but I envy Shaw, because nobody knows who the fuck he is. He's just a skull with a British accent.
But that's the dream, right?
Right.
That's the dream, right?
Like
we all wish we could be the disembodied head, just
right. Just
quoting from Marx or whatever.
Exactly. Just when you engaging with all the minutia of social media, it's brain breaking. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this space where there's so much scrutiny, so much interaction. I'm not just putting out a product. I'm also like educating people on political philosophies and humanity and stuff like that. And so like it becomes a lot to keep engaged, to continue to keep engaged. And like you develop a lot of probably antisocial behavior, real talk. And you have to keep yourself in check before you like play into the urges that develop that aren't real. They're based on this social media stuff. But you have good people around you. You have people that hold you accountable. And you have stuff offline, and that's how I try to stay sane, including this media. Like I've just finished playing video games before I came down here.
yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this, kind of following up on that, and then we can really get into the meat of this. But I told you the video that got me to subscribe. That was the Obama John. But I have been seeing your thumbnails for a little bit, for at least maybe a couple of weeks, and I was like, I don't know. And the first one that actually got me to click was with the Will Smith one, was the Black boys are not safe, right? And I said, okay, all right, I see what type of time this nigga is on. Then I saw the Dave Chappelle one, and I don't think I ever told you this, but it was that video that kind of pushed me over the edge from, sort of like, why can't we all just get along, to, oh, okay, no, now I know, I see what type of time it is. So I say that to say, there is a dearth, especially of straight Black men of a particular, like, I ain't even gonna hold you. When I found out that you was a girl dad, I said I could have swore this nigga was Ital or something.
Like my initial goal was to just be Black male Lindsay Ellis. I'm gonna just talk about Black movies and keep it a buck. I wanted to do a video about Black Panther and the Lion King, because everybody's takes on Black Panther sucked, which I think what I named that video. And I've never made the Lion King video, but that was like a video I was planning on making. But I was frustrated that I watched a bunch of white video essayists talk about the Lion King, and nobody talked about the Epic of Sundiata. And I was like, how y'all miss the Lion King? And I was like, well, I can't trust, like no shade to any of them. There's all love to all of them. But if you haven't had a certain background in education or experience, then it's probably, I shouldn't want them to tell the story of us like that, you know what I mean? And so that was my initial goal. And then Kevin Samuels started popping off, like right when I was starting to make videos. And I was really frustrated because like I didn't know none of them niggas in real life. I knew one dude that was a Kevin Samuels light, and he was a Q. So that first off,
Y'all already know how I feel about frats, so I'll keep my frats to myself.
Right. What Dom called them dancing gangs. Shout out to Dom and the Potty Mouth podcast. And so like I was just frustrated because I was like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I can play the Very Smart Brothers role, right? Like I know that language. And I give that at times when it's like, because that's also part of me, right? But I am more comfortable and like more positioned to just be like more around the way, at least in my sensibilities. I hate Black excellence brunches. I hate boule shit. I hate Jack and Jill shit. I hate that stuff so much. And so like I've always been like, I don't know, like resistant to it. And the byproduct is just having a more around the way sensibilities. And so it frustrated me that like social media was able to create this image of Black men that weren't very smart brothers. No shade to them, because I understand what they were doing for the most part. They had some L's, but all of us got L's. But social media was creating this very like clear division where it's like the very smart brothers and then the rest of these niggas need to die. Because they're all misogynistic, patriarchal, hood, thug, things. And it's like, no, most of the great intellectuals I've ever known in my personal life have been around the way dudes that read a handful of books, had a lot of experience. They're just good thinkers. And so like that kind of made me want to be more normal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then like you said, the Dave Chappelle video. The only reason I like when that happened, right? I watched the special, and I had again Very Smart Brothers background, and so I knew I had been in social work, and I had to have the same experience you had of like, oh, this is actually way different than what I've come to understand. As I'm working with queer kids and working with organizations that work with queer kids, I'm like, oh, we got this all effed up. In fact, now that I'm like talking to y'all, there's so much synergy here. Real talk. Right. And so, but then when I saw other brothers like myself and around the way dudes that were like kind of on board with Dave's, like what Dave was putting out. And I was like, I just think y'all don't understand. Right. So I'm not gonna make a video calling y'all dumb, calling y'all the white people of Black people. Right. I'm not gonna make a Brittany Cooper article. I'm gonna just try to have I'm gonna do the same thing I would have did if I was in a barbershop and just have a real broke down argument about what's happening. The idea that we could talk this game and then be so exclusionary to that population, if not just through the way we're presenting, if not just through what we're spending most of our time talking about, to me, that was an extremely problematic flaw in the space as a whole.
We got a little bit too deep, but that's all right. Now we finna have some fun. So the first thing on the list, all right, Tool, Lateralus. I've never learned how to pronounce this properly. I've never learned how to pronounce any Tool albums properly.
Tool is my favorite band, or if they're not my favorite, they're 1A between them and Mars Volta. And the only reason why Mars Volta won't win is I have no idea what any of their songs are about. Like if you've ever heard, nobody knows what they're talking about. It's just rambling. I'm sure somebody knows for the actuallys. I'm sure one of y'all in the crowd knows what Cassandra Gemini 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is about. I do not. So
the Mars Volta is Red Hot Chili Peppers to smart people. Nobody knows what they're talking about.
Right. Without the PDF file.
Without the PDF file.
Not to say that Tool is any better. All them dudes is trash, but that's a whole other conversation. Tool was like my first step out of, bro. Like I make the joke, and I think this is still somewhat true, that like I am the rock music equivalent to like a white person that only listens to Eminem for most of my life, so Metallica, Nirvana, Papa Roach, whatever in high school, and then at some point, I don't know if it was a girl. No, it couldn't have been a girl. Somebody,
not with no Tool,
because I'd have married her. But like somebody, yeah, no. Actually, no. It was just I was sitting down. I had seen Stinkfist. Like if you're well, no, you're not my age. So back in the day when we had music videos all the time. Well, I guess you were old enough to remember music videos.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember
Gosh,
pop-up video.
So like, I remember like the video for Stink Fist. I remember the video for Prison Sex. I remember the video for Sober. And like, I think that whatever part of my brain that appreciates dissonant sounds and visuals, even as a kid, I was like, oh, this is pretty dope. I don't know what this is, or if I should be watching it, but this is like horror claymation. I don't even like horror movies, but I want to watch this, right? And so I remembered them from that. And Tool takes like 7 years in between albums. So I remember seeing that like as a kid and then not seeing anything. And then one day I remember being like in my cousin's basement and the melody for Schism played. And I was hypnotized. I was like, that is the most enthralling sound I've ever heard in my life. Bloom, 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 bloom. Right? And I was like, where can I find that? Who is that? And I finally like started looking them up. That's what got me into them. And then I found that album, and that took me from, you know, Limp Bizkit and Stained to Mars Volta, right? But I'm not super deep in. I'm no Fantano for real, but I always kept coming back to Lateralus. And it's an album that makes me disappear. Like it makes literally when I'm in that album for real, I stop it. I depersonalize. I get so deep into the sounds and the melodies and the lyrics, a lot of the song concepts that I will lose track of time. If I love working out to that because I'll be done with my workout and be trying to figure out where the hell I was at for the last.
I feel that.
You know, so I mean, you know, and now shit on them. Now shit on Tool.
I am a Tool fan. I'm about as casual a Tool fan as one could possibly.
Nah, there's no such thing. You either are a hardcore Tool fan or you really don't get it.
You want to know why I say that? It's because I like the songs. I like Tool songs, but if you ever like interacted with Tool fans in real life, Tool fans are the boogies of rock music. I ain't even gonna lie. Facts. They really are. You know why? Because they have it's a weird thing. It's a weird. I don't know who the Drake fans of rock music would be. I don't know.
Red Hot Chili Peppers or
once again. Right, Red Hot Chili. There you go. Red Hot Chili Peppers. But at least they know they basic. Right. At least they know it. You know what I mean?
You know, it's Tool and it's Radiohead.
And Radiohead. Definitely.
Oh my God.
Right. They have this I'm not like other girls energy to them but all the while you're exactly like other girls. You're just a little bit smarter.
Right.
Just a little bit to know the $5 words. But so I'm not that level of Tool fan.
Yeah.
That's why I say I'm casual.
I understand. Now for me, like once I discovered that, I dove into the discography. You know, I've been there ever since. And yeah, like Tool, the Kendrick comparison is really perfect because Kendrick is deep and complex enough that it appeals to the real hardcore, deep hip hop nerds, but commercial enough so that there's a giant pool of people that this is as deep as they'll ever get.
Right. Yeah.
But amongst shallow people, they're the Mariana Trench.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Tool fans, they're not going to listen to like King Crimson or nothing. They ain't going to get that deep in.
A handful of them will get there, but they still, you know, and low key that's kind of.
But at least you admit it. At least you admit it.
Yeah, like Deftones. Like people, like you got to try Deftones. Like I tried, it ain't Tool. I tried Chevelle, it ain't Tool.
Funny story. I learned about Carl Jung through Tool, through 46 and 2. So that's how I learned about Carl Jung, and that's how I learned about, you know, the whole, you know, Shadow Man, whatever, and blah blah blah. That comes from that. So I say that to make this point, or rather to ask this question is, so when you're coming up with a script, when you're coming up for a concept for a script, is it kind of like already in your head that, okay, I'm going to make a video about Baby Boy, but it's really going to be a video about, you know, Black men's masculinity coming of age, you know, in, you know, a lower income environment and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to make a video about loving basketball, but come to find out, really, I'm tearing down the whole Black Love TM concept, right?
For me, video ideas are like getting sick. I think I don't know if I told you this, but I know I've made this explanation before. To me, it's like getting the stomach bugs, like getting diarrhea. And so like something will come into my system that will wreak havoc in my brain, and I'll have to get it out. And then I'll figure out, okay, what is the best vessel for this? Sometimes it's simple. In this Lupe Fiasco video that I guess will be out by the time y'all see this, like I told the story, I was driving to somewhere with my kids and my family, and I hadn't listened to Samurai for real yet. So I listened to Samurai, and I liked it, but I liked old Lupe better, and I hadn't listened to old Lupe, and I was like, do I like old Lupe better? And I went back and I listened to I started with The Cool, because that was like probably my second favorite Lupe album, because I've never stopped listening to Tetsuo on Youth. Yeah. And I was listening to The Cool, and I was like, this nigga has so many hits. These were big hits. What happened? Yeah. And then like I went through his whole discography, and my brain started replaying like what happened with Lupe's career. And I was like, yo, this is like the most interesting rap career, at least of a generation. I should make a video. And so it was simple. I'm just making a video about Lupe Fiasco, right? With the Will Smith video wasn't about Will Smith.
Right.
That happened literally in the middle of me making the video. He did that. But I did watch Bel Air, the remake, and I really liked it. And so I wanted to talk about that. And something I did with Foreign Man had brought up the story of Yummy Sandifer. I think was his Yummy Sandifer in Chicago. I'm pretty sure his name was Yummy Sandifer. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. And I remember how much that story haunted me growing up in Chicago. Like this little boy got caught up in gang life and murdered at 10, 11 years old. Now he was the same age as me. He'd be the same age as me today if he was alive. And I like low-key, I think I may have broke down crying like when I was talking to Foreign Man about it. Because like I just got really emotional because like all those emotions like re-erupted, and I didn't realize like how much of an effect that still had on me even at my big age. And it's something about something just and I had just read, I think I just finished reading Curry, who I low-key don't fuck with because he's an asshole. But his work, that one book he's written is pretty good, right? And so like all of that was in my system, and so like I had to get out my system, and then all these things aligned. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about Fresh Prince. And then Will Smith happened to slap somebody like literally as I was writing, as I was filming the video. So it's really just like an idea will jump in my head, and I'm just lucky enough. One, like you, it's nothing. Twitter fingers turn to trigger fingers real quick on these scripts. And then two, being able to have a platform where I can make a video about almost anything I want. And it'll at least, pay the bills, if not expand the numbers, All
right, so let's go. Let's get into the next one. So Labyrinth. I've never seen the movie. All I know, I've never watched Labyrinth. All I know about Labyrinth is that there's Muppets in it, I think, and David Bowie has like a 10-inch dick. That's all I know.
He doesn't, but he is showing package a lot. But there's no print though. But it is like it's funny. I didn't notice that until, again, shout out Lizzie Ellis, because I guess as a male attracted person, that was a lot for them. That was like a lot of young white girls' introduction to puberty. Me, I'm just like, you remind me of the Babe. What Babe? The Babe with the power. I'm not at all noticing that he's walking around in spandex, ushering girls into puberty in the late 80s. I just love that movie so much. I love a lot of movies. I think that's the only one that I can probably just watch over and over again with the same level of joy and interest. The songs are great. It doesn't have too many things. Well, no, it has a couple of things that haven't aged well. Like, can we have a Billa or whoever? Can we cut in the quasi-racist orange trolls in the swamp that are talking jive to her?
We can show you a good time.
She randomly ends up in a dark place with jive talking Jar Jar Binks orange Muppets.
And you really expected my fake 5% of parents to sit me down and let me watch that?
And these Muppets are so. And their song is dope. Their song is so funky. It's a problem. It's a problem. No, it's because we're such musical people. That's what it is. Oh, damn.
You ain't surviving this one. You ain't beating the allegations after this one.
I'm surprised my dad never probably watched it. And my mom was like, she just did, if it was fantasy, so she's like, whatever, go watch it. So they didn't watch media with me. So I could have been watching a whole bunch of messed up stuff. I know my dad would have pointed that out though, because I never forget. He ruined Mighty Ducks for me.
What's wrong with Mighty Ducks?
Oh, you remember when they went to the hood in Mighty Ducks and got Keenan Thompson?
You're talking about
the second one.
You were talking about the cartoon.
No, the second Mighty Ducks. You might be.
Yeah, I barely remember the movie.
In the second Mighty Ducks, they also go to the hood and find the black kids that play street hockey, because you know that was popping off in the hood.
Yeah.
And like my dad, like we were leaving the I never forget leaving the theater. My dad gave us an hour-long lecture about the semiotics of racial presentation in media, and that's why I'm a video essayist today. That talk right there. So yeah.
So if you want your children to grow up to be FD or Bill, you get them a copy of Malcolm's autobiography when they're like 7, and then you ruin every piece of media that they ever watch if you want them to grow up like us. All right. So Tekken. I ain't even gonna lie. So I used to be big into fighting games, like in my early 20s. At one point on Mortal Kombat X, I was like top 2,000 in the world ranked. So you know,
so you're not a complete normie there.
Nah, ask about me. Ask about me from 10 years ago though. But I've never been able to get into Tekken like that because
you play Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. I play Mortal Kombat. Because Mortal Kombat is a dummy fighter. That's all it is. It really is a dummy fighter. But by the time you get to like your mid to late 20s and your reflexes ain't reflexing like that no more, it's a wrap. And then y'all got all these legacy combos, man. Like it's like 20 and 30-year-old combos. So I get on there and I get waxed by somebody that remember like King's Death Cradle, the whole combo from like 1993 or something or whatever. So all right, so go ahead and talk about
and that's one of the reasons why I love Tekken, because I don't think anybody else in the public eye, even like the Tekken influencers, the only one that's been playing Tekken as long as me is Main Man Sweet, who I think I have beat probably by a year, because I had, everybody got that one friend in the neighborhood who get the new shit.
Yeah.
So that wasn't me, but it was my homeboy Christopher Daniels. Shout out Christopher Daniels on Yates, aka Miss City on Yates Street.
Christopher Daniels.
Right.
That's a deep cut reference.
Right. And so Chris will always hit the hot new stuff. So he got the PlayStation like day one, and Tekken, I don't know if it was a day one release, but it was early as hell. And I've always been good at fighting games too. I was really good at Street Fighter. I was really good at Mortal Kombat, and I was really good at Virtual Fighter and stuff. I don't know. I feel like something else. Whatever. Anyway,
King of Fighters.
No, it's something. It's a 3D Fighter, but I don't think it was Virtual Fighters. I think that was after Tekken, wasn't it?
Dead or Alive?
Nah. I don't know. Whatever it is, I was good at it. I was good at all of them. And so I pick up Tekken, and like, the routine is you go to the crib. If it's 5 of y'all, winner stay on. And I wasn't getting off the sticks. I like playing. So I just learned how to be good at Tekken day one and continue to learn how to be good from 1996 to 2025. That is 29 years. So like 29 years, every Tekken except a little bit of most I didn't play Tekken 5 much. That was the only one I barely played. And that was because I was in a life transition where I wasn't in a dorm room where nobody was around to play me. And I wasn't really in the scene like that to play like the real pros. And so like I'm still really good. I think if I really did try, I could be a halfway decent pro. But like that takes a different level. Like I've played pros before, and you see the difference. Like I've beat FDX, I've beat Poke Chop, right? But in one match, maybe in the first to 3, not in the first to 5. And so this a different level of like engaging with the game. And if I was on a desert island, I'd probably just learn how to do that. Does desert island have Wi-Fi? If it has Wi-Fi, then I'm gonna become.
We'll say it has Wi-Fi for this exercise.
Then I'm gonna become a top 1,000 player if I can handle it. Although people don't like playing people on Wi-Fi, but they're gonna have to deal with it because I'm on an island.
And I feel like you kind of did a B-sides about this before, and I know we had talked about this offline before, right? Especially growing up, not well for you. The 40s, for me, the 90s, 90s, early mid 2000s, that whole, waking up on Saturday, Sunday morning at your cousin's house or whatever, and don't lose or you're going to lose the sticks, right?
Right.
So, they say, how's that saying go? That lack is the mother of innovation or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that reflected in, especially with your background in social work and all of that and whatever, do you see that reflected in kids that come from particular environments, that they're just wired in a way that I gotta find a way to make the best of what I got?
There's definitely truth to that, but I always want to caution that. It's funny, I just had this conversation with my brother, with my wife, regarding my brother-in-law and like a acquaintance that needs a little help for college. And like there are certain folks in the streets, in the struggle, or just in like a moderate background in terms of resources, that they're resourceful and they're innovative and they're driven and they're gonna figure it out. And yeah, for them, like you put a barrier in front of them, you do it on purpose just to see what's going to happen, because they're not going to let that barrier stop them, right?
Yeah.
And that's really dope. That's something that happens with a lot of like young Black men in schools. I remember as a teacher, there were some little boys that they were going to get it. They were going to figure it out. Little girls going to get it. They're going to figure it out. And you recognize that as a teacher. And so you like cocoon those kids and you feed them the whatever meager resources, because I used to teach in the hood. You feed them whatever meager resources y'all got, because you're like, all right, this one got something. And like, there's that. That's legit, real, love that. Then there's also like regular ass niggas. Niggas is not that talented.
Yeah. Right.
Niggas not that driven. They're not like, super predators or some shit. Most successful people are not successful because they're so much more talented, so much more hardworking, or so much more driven. Their opportunity structure just easily led them to success, and vice versa. When folks don't have the same opportunity structure, then failure is a more likely option. People don't like the idea of it just being numbers driven, but it's a numbers game. Like, it's so much of this is a numbers game. Like you control plenty of things, but not nearly as much as you think. You know what I'm saying? Or at least you control a lot of things within a set field of options. And the options that are outside of your reach, maybe they're things that you really, really need, and you need someone to make that connection for you to get to a different position. Like, and you can be as driven and as talented as you want. And if I got 1 million subscribers right now. If Khadijah and Bo doesn't shout me out,
right?
I don't know. I don't think I got much going on if that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's the game of the algorithm. It's probably somebody. It's so funny, like because I would always look for people, right? And like I was constantly, when I started getting on, like looking for other creators, and I would find like dope, like progressive creators, Black men that made like 10 videos between 2012 and 2016. Made 20 videos and just stopped posting.
Yeah.
Because the game wasn't getting the picture for him,
I think you have found me before. I wasn't even at 1,000 yet.
Yeah, and it might not have like literally. Please keep posting on BreadTube. I know. Please,
it's a necessary evil.
don't listen. Please keep posting. You know, and creators, please keep finding people and sharing, because that's the real talent. But you know, and then you got real skill like me and Tekken. So like, you know, I heard Bellamy might outrank me now. I can't believe Bellamy outranking me already. Because me and Bellamy have been missing fade for like a month or so now, and so now I got to.
Well, you know, Bellamy is fueled by spite. So Bellamy made up in their mind that I'm going to overtake you by any means necessary. Bellamy got that Lupe energy. I feel like this next one was like the most like FD Signifier thing on this whole list that I said, all right, yeah, like I could have clocked that. Is Soul Food by Goodie Mob. I feel like that's like the quintessential like millennial Dirty South, you know, album.
So I mean, I don't know. It is to me, but I'm an outsider, and
But you identify more with Atlanta now.
Yeah, it might be specifically, and that's why I don't want to, as a person who identifies as Atlantic from Atlanta. All the people I know that's actually from Atlanta, it's deeper cuts. It's like it's Pastor Troy, it's Hitman Sammy Sam, it's CMP. Like those are folks that like if you're not from here and you wasn't in a certain environment at a certain time, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Whereas like in Chicago, Goodie Mob is what penetrated. And what's funny is that like so, and the Goodie Mob that was like '96. I wasn't in Atlanta, right? I didn't appreciate Goodie Mob for real. This album specifically, I used to like their second album better, Still Standing. But when I got here, this is one of my joints for that video I was talking about. That's why I knew I was gonna put it in there. When I got here in Atlanta, suddenly this album made more sense to me because I was now like I used to go on walks, and I used to walk like through. I probably wasn't very smart now that I think about it. Right, but I ain't know no better, so I was just walking through the SWATs. I was walking through West End, and people would get robbed and shot. Knock on wood. Well, I did eventually get robbed and shot at, low key. But that was like years later.
Yeah.
But like when I first got there, like 2000, 2001, I would go on these walks, just like, you know, and I just like going on walks. And I would just put in my headphones and walk. And then one day I would start listening to soul food while I was walking, and like suddenly, you know, the feeling you get from like Good Kid, Mad City, where like you're listening to a movie.
Yeah.
Suddenly that happened. I was like, oh, you know, like everything started kind of clicking. And it's also just a great album. So it's kind of like part of it is it's similar to like with Tool, because like its sound is that old Dungeon Family sound. You know, I don't know who all did the production, but like, you know, it's them and Outkast and a bunch of the people all share producers. It's very haunting, you know, it's very a lot of it is very liminal space coded. And so, you know, you're walking. Atlanta has trees everywhere. People don't like this. One thing that people I think are shocked by when they get here is like for a major city, it's like they refuse to cut down trees for buildings. So like except for downtown, there's trees everywhere. So I'm like having like ancestral flashbacks of like who was running through these trees at a given, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm having like literal like spiritual experiences listening to soul food, walking to peppermint music at the West End Mall, you know, walking down as a Hollywood. I don't know what it's called. It's got trains on it. I got my first tattoo, my only tattoo, not my first tattoo, my only tattoo, which is trash. Like, please understand, this is not a good tattoo, but it's the only one I got. I got it after I pledged, and it was because I was just walking like down this like shopping center near West End Mall, and it looks like something out of like a, you know, it's not like 70s hood. It's not that bad. I wouldn't have went, just being real,
right?
But it wasn't like it still kind of look kind of janky now because they ain't finished gentrifying that section. But if you would have come there, you see what I'm talking about. And so like I'm hearing soul food, I'm seeing that, and I see a tattoo part. I was like, I'm gonna get a tattoo.
One thing that I picked up from both you and John, basically anybody I know who grew up from the Midwest, is that there's like this, I want to call it, for lack of better phrasing, like this spiritual connection between the South and the Midwest that We don't really get that in the Northeast. We don't really get that.
That's because
It's
y'all
like,
severed the bond. Because y'all not really ADOS like we ADOS in the Midwest and the South.
No, we not. We mix with everything.
Y'all mix with everything.
We mix with like our Puerto Ricans,
which is ironic, which means y'all actually got a deeper tie to the motherland, low key.
Right.
That's why all that stuff is silly. But anyway,
what was that transition like? Being a Chicago kid and integrating yourself into that culture. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot, especially, for the non-Black viewers in the audience, just kind of have this idea in their head that, Black is Black wherever you go.
Right.
Philly Black is worlds away from Atlanta Black. Philly Black is worlds away from New York Black.
Right, from DC Black.
Right, from DC Black.
Baltimore, that's a whole different.
That's a whole nother. Baltimore is the country to me. I'm going to keep it. Baltimore is like 2.5 hours away from me. That's country. But I say that to say, what? So was it kind of like, coming home, or was it like?
So, I mean, I can't overplay it because I was still very much in the HBCU bubble initially, which it might have been different. So, and also, so I was in the HBCU bubble, so I don't think I would have had like the true like shock of being in the South. I did realize, I know that after I graduated and stayed here and got out the bubble, I had a greater appreciation of the fact that I was in the South then. But I was also an adult, so like by then I had kind of like, the ability to be mystified was different. But even with that said, it was still big for me because I was cocooned by my mother. My mother, who had came out of X, Y, and Z things I don't like to talk about from that hotel background. After she was done with all that, she was like, "I'm taking y'all to the suburbs. I ain't dealing with this shit and these niggas no more." Black suburbs, want to be clear, but still away from the wild hunteds and the South Side, the West Side. And so I didn't really experience Chicago like a person who's from Chicago might say they've experienced it. I don't to this day, I don't know the city any better than a person who travels there for a vacation, right? I got to Atlanta as a young adult. And then I started driving and learning, and it was just like I remember the first time I went to like the Shrine of the Black Madonna, which is like a hotel bookstore not too far from the campus. And like they had a Black Holocaust museum. And I had seen all the hotel, things up until that point, but that was different. You know what I mean? Like I was in there, and it's not like a big, it's the size of a McDonald's, right? But still, I was like, oh, I'm actually here. I remember driving to Stone Mountain, going up Stone Mountain and seeing like all those trees and knowing that they started the KKK here. And so it is like a, and then you meet a country girl or two and you understand it's different.
Right. Right.
No shade to the country girl.
I was telling my wife the other night that God knew what he was doing when he ain't let me go to school down south. Because I would have came back. I would have came back with at least like 3 different kids or 4 different kids by 3 different moms.
God blessed me with debilitating, scaring the hoes energy for most of my life, where I had to work really, really hard for every piece of look I got. And I don't even know I got it, but like had I been my brother, definitely less dick discipline like down here. But you get some of these Southern girls. I went through a neo soul phase, or a Southern neo soul. Like neo soul is different by location. The top tier neo soul girls are in the South. It don't like you might as well not even bother if you're into that aesthetic and that vibe. You want your girl that does crystals and chakras. And you come to the South, Mississippi, Atlanta, New Orleans, right? That's that. So you had those experiences. Yeah, it was shocking. It was humbling. I think that's also where, because I was lucky enough, knock on wood. I think we both admit to first off, not admit, nobody Black in America doesn't have issues with anti-Black tendencies. That's just how. Yeah. That's just the cost of the game of being here. So I had mine, and I was like being able to like be immersed in like Southern atmosphere, and of course the HBCU, because like I was also going to school with people from DC, people from LA, people from Texas, and like realizing like black is black everywhere, but it's not the same anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that unify pretty clearly, and then there's also these dope cultural exchanges I have. I remember the first time I heard go-go music. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? I was like, oh, wait. Okay, wait. I see where it's at. I see where it's at. I see what y'all doing.
Last one. Dragon Age Inquisition. Yeah. I'm gonna let you go ahead and just talk about that.
I mean, that's my youngest son had his first Dungeons and Dragons experience this past week at camp. And I never played D&D growing up. And it's probably good because I would have probably been completely irredeemable in my nerdiness. Like I was nerdy enough, at a time when there was no back and forth between being a black nerd and like existing in regular everyday life. Like you even didn't quite have the same experience that I had. Like I never got into Stranger Things. And the reason why is because it immediately didn't make sense that there was a black kid involved. You know what I'm saying? There were other black people in the neighborhood. I was like, no, that's not how this actually works at this time. They're a little older than me, so maybe, but no. In my experience, if you were black and you were a nerd, that was a deep secret that you kept to yourself for fear of, that's half the Louis Fiasco video, right? So Louis Fiasco knew how to fight and kill niggas, and I didn't. And so like I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, but I was enthralled by fantasy anything. My favorite movie is Labyrinth. You feel me? So you fast forward.
David Bowie with the cod piece.
Willow, that's a deep cut fantasy joint. All them joints. Everything but the books, because I didn't like reading fantasy books. My parents gave me Solo Nice at 10, so it's hard to go from Solo Nice to a Song of Ice and Fire.
That's a bar. That's a
Lord.
bar, low key.
Oh, low key, yeah. Like, the dad, he said he raped a bunch of people at the end of the day. Did you know that? Yeah, but that's not important. That's not
right. That's not. Don't read that part. I swear we got the same father. I swear they brothers or something.
Oh Lord. So you fast forward to BioWare love a lot of their games. And when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, I played that game for 1 bajillion hours. And I have to stop myself from going back to that game. Like every other time I get bored, because like as you get older, gaming, especially with kids, you kind of probably know this. Like gaming is not as fun. It's still fun. You want to do it, but there's such a ramp up point that I often find myself like only playing a new game for like a couple of hours and then just going back to something I already know I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
If it doesn't catch me immediately. And so like whenever that happens, I think about going back to Dragon Age Inquisition specifically because it was just a great nerdy RPG fantasy experience that I can play over and over and over again. I know every story beat. I probably still know all of them joints by my by heart at this point. But I want to do dual wield rogue build this time around, and romance Morrigan. So like it's so like if I'm on myself on an island, I gotta have things that take up time, and know. Why not pick the game you probably spent more time playing your whole life that you can play again?
Before we wrap up, real quick, lightning round. So give me like 1 and 2 word answers. So last meal. Or what would be your last meal?
Peanut butter stew, African peanut butter stew.
If you could box any YouTuber, who would it be?
Whoever the top Minecraft person is. I hate them niggas so much, and I've threatened in front of my kids. Like I'm in front of my kids. I'll be like, I'm a YouTuber now. I'm gonna find this person. I'm gonna punch him in the fucking face because he's getting on my nerves.
If you could have lunch with any person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably the Boys, because the Boys has nobody has Like if we wanted to cancel the boys, like we get on Garvey because Garvey's problems contribute to like modern problems. But if you go back, the boys had some problems.
What is your dream project that if you once you do it, you'll say, I can die happy?
I want to make like urban fantasy RPG. I want to make Dragon Age Inquisition, except with like a Pan-African like themed like world. Like a Pan-African fantasy world where I have to collect Black characters from all over the diaspora representing different real life like movements. Why are you laughing? This is dope. This is dope.
Because this is the most hotep coded thing. You're trying to make Skyrim in Wakanda. the Elder Scrolls Wakanda.
Low key.
This is the most Black history memory game coded action RPG pitch I've ever heard in my life.
Whatever, man. Listen. When I get wealthy and famous for real,
collect-a-thon.
When I get wealthy and famous for real, I'm gonna make this game, and it's gonna be dope, and people are gonna love it.
God.
And Black Twitter is gonna be all over it, and all the cosplay nerds are gonna dress up as my characters. And I just remember y'all laughed at me when I mentioned it.
I'm gonna laugh when it comes out. I ain't say I wasn't gonna buy it. I'm still gonna laugh
when it come out.
I'm still gonna laugh, and I'm gonna sit my kids in front of the TV and say, "Is this or the Black History memory game? Which one is gonna be?" Y'all be y'all. I'll be me. Stephon Johnson. Don't sue me. All right, deuces.